There's enough vaccines, friends, for everybody. And there's been a series of articles in the Western press. Articles not about maverick figures who are destructive, but about the most beloved figures in the most beloved governments who were accused of, by their own press, correctly, of hoarding vaccines. And again, these are impossible and complex issues, but we got to get underneath it. Clearly, each nation has to take care of its own vaccination, and each nation has a responsibility, right, to its family. That's absolutely true. And we can't let pharmaceutical profit, and we can't let closet forms of xenophobia, and we can't let inappropriate forms of nationalism to undermine the single most important thing that the world has begun to awaken to in COVID-19. And that is, my friends, that we are one world, and we are one heart, and we are one love, and we are one breath. And as I've gotten communications this week from leaders, prominent, good human beings around the country saying, welcome to the post-COVID world, or COVID's been such a blessing. And America's, right, really walked through, and we're now moving through. You know, I listen and I shudder. First, COVID's raging all over the world. And if there's COVID in Bangladesh, there's COVID in Manhattan. And if there's COVID in India, and it doesn't matter whose India it is. It's not Modi's India. It's India. It's human beings. Right? If there's COVID any place in the world, there's COVID in my home. If there's COVID in your country, there's COVID in my country. If your sister has COVID, then my brother has COVID. Because we're one breath and we're one world. And the reason COVID happened, which is part of a long series of respiratory immune attacks, is because there's a channel now between the animal world and the human world. And that channel, that particular channel, is the channel through which viruses jump from the animal world to the human world. And that channel is facilitated directly by dire poverty and by human beings not being properly sanitized, not having proper drinking water, not having available sanitized meat or vegetables, and therefore eating, bathing inappropriately, communicating diseases between them, right? And then being so close, living almost like animals, right? But not in the holy animal sense, but the humans living like animals in ways which they can't, and then receiving from the animal world through various forms of ingestion, viruses that are then transmitted. A bunch of people eat bats in Wuhan, China, because they don't have proper food to eat. You wouldn't eat those bats. I wouldn't eat those bats, but it's one world, it's one breath. And it's not only true existentially, it's not only true emotionally, it's not only true spiritually, it's also true practically. If there's COVID in the world, there's going to be COVID in your home. Viruses don't honor ethnocentric boundaries. Let's get really clear here. There's no demons here. The Biden administration is doing its absolute best. And the Biden administration, as Joe Biden said correctly, right? He said a few years ago, he said, if we're not doing it right, pressure us, show us, protest. That, by the way, is the difference between this administration and the one before it in the United States. Right? There was an enormous amount of pressure put on the Biden administration by key figures in the United States. And Biden said, wow, you're right. You're right. Let's reevaluate this. That's what leadership should do. And they did reevaluate, and 5-6 days ago, the United States is sending 60 million vaccines. And we need to do more and more. Not because we're being charitable, not because we're being nice, because that's the integrity of one world, one breath. If we don't actually create a world in which everyone has sanitized drinking water, in which everyone has availability to healthy food, everyone has availability of genuine education, and we're going to have right? A world in which COVID's going to look like child's play. This is the moment. In this particular moment, right? Please, no one, don't send me any more letters saying COVID's over. COVID's not over. We're in the middle of COVID. We're literally right in the middle of COVID now. And the fact that it's happening in Bombay and not in Manhattan doesn't matter. One world, one breath, one heart. We move from ethnocentric to world-centric consciousness. We care for every human being. Right? No one's left out of the circle. And then we move to cosmocentric consciousness. We care for every animal that's slaughtered improperly in front of its children in wet markets, right? Which are part of that which creates the channel from the animal world to the human world that directly generates COVID. We care for every one of those animals. We care for pigs, right? Held in one position in 3 months in factory farms, right? Eaten all across America today. Wow. So friends, COVID is raging and I can't breathe. And that's the beginning, okay? One heart, one love, one people.